Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. Hey, recently I did a video on my channel all about the Doberman tail docking process, what's involved, why we do it, at what age we do it, kind of what the procedure is like, and how much it costs. But depending where you live in the world, this is a very controversial topic. So in today's video, I think it's important we meet that controversy head on and we have a good old-fashioned pros and cons argument between those who are for tail docking of Dobermans and those who are against it. You can decide which version of me you agree with. Me, who's for tail docking, or me, who is definitely against tail docking. But full disclosure, we both own a Doberman named Arlo, who is awesome, by the way. And he does have a docked tail, but to be fair, the breeder did it and didn't really give us a choice. You know, maybe you didn't have the choice in the end about getting the tail docked, but I don't recall you asking the breeder not to dock the tail either there, buddy. So maybe deep down you did really want a docked tail. No, and would you please just for 1 minute shut your mouth? All right, guys, let's tone it down. You're gonna both get your chance to make your points heard. Mr. For tail docking, why don't you start us off? Thank you, John, I appreciate it. So my first argument for tail docking is this right here. I don't know if you guys seen it. I can pass it around. This is the Doberman breed standard, and it's a blueprint for the Doberman breed. And it says, and I quote, that the tail should be docked at approximately the second joint. This is a standard for the breed. And why does that matter? It matters a lot because people put a lot of work into that breed standard. Professionals from all different areas come together. It's a well thought out document. They know the implications of what they add to that document. They don't just throw in things for no reason. They want to keep the Doberman in the image of the original Dobermans that Carl Frederick Lewis Doberman created in the beginning. They don't want to deviate from that. If they deviate from that, they feel like they're not paying homage to the Doberman breed. And if your dog falls outside the breed standard, it's not a standard Doberman. And do you really have a Doberman if they're not as outlined in the breed standard? I would argue maybe not. Now, the next reason is for protection reasons. Now, guys, this dog, you know this. This dog is originally bred for the purposes of personally protecting humans. They're a working dog. Man created this dog. So if you take away their ability to perform their main intended function from the very beginning to the best of their ability, aren't you kind of taking away the essence of what the breed is in the first place? And one thing that they have always had to help with that is a docked tail, because that's one less of a handhold for someone to grab a hold of the dog's tail and control the dog with. It's true, and you know, that is why Carl Frederick Lewis Doberman, the creator of this breed, cropped his first dog's tails. So you're not paying homage to him. It's detracting from their main purpose if they don't have a docked tail. And frankly, they just don't look like a Doberman. And what's the point of having a Doberman if he just looks like a hound dog and nobody even hesitates to challenge the dog? Now, my next reason is to avoid future pain in the dog. Look, those tails are dense. You know this. They're long. They're thin. They whip around super fast. They smack kids in the face. They get broken easily, even in a family environment. Running past a coffee table, running past a doorway, and it smacks it extra hard. When that happens, and if that happens, and you go to a vet, now we're talking an amputation of the tail, which is a huge deal. Anesthesia for the dog, pain, discomfort. When they're an adult, when they're a puppy, only a couple days old, it's super easy, super quick, pretty painless, which we'll discuss in a follow-up point. But yeah, if you want to avoid overall pain in your dog, I think it's a good thing to consider getting your dog's tail docked, because it's a very, very minor, quick thing. All right, my next point is it is not painful for the dog. And people like him are going to tell you that it is painful, but hear me out. When it's done when they're really young, between 1 to 5 days preferably, the earlier the better, maybe up to 7 days after birth, the nerve endings, like I said, have not grown into the tail yet. So it's not painful at all. In fact, I have a study that I'll link to in the description down below. Oh, we can put stuff in the description now? Is that how it works? Yes. Okay. I didn't know. Fine. Okay, great. Yes, and I will link to this down in the description down below. But this study found that when a tail was docked on a puppy before 7 days old, quote, they're rendered incapable of consciously experiencing pain when the tail is docked at that age. And you know, sometimes people like him will put out videos of young puppies getting their tails docked and they're screaming and screeching. And you know, this study offers explanations for why that is, and it's not because of the dog experiencing pain. There could be a lot of reasons for this. The hormones get released into the dog because of the damage to the skin, which is a natural reaction by the dog, but not because of pain. Those are two different things. Also, the dog getting lifted up by the tail is a very disconcerting experience for a young pup. He doesn't know what's going on. Being pulled away from the mom. These are all reasons that have been cited before as to why these dogs screech and scream during the tail docking process. That's why in the United States, it's legal to do it at home without anesthesia and without sterile equipment. By the way, you should always go to a vet. Of course, we all agree on that. Never do it at home. However, it is still legal to do at home. And I think a lot of the reasons why this was determined to be allowed to be legal is because they don't experience pain in the tail at that young age. Yeah, I will concede that older dogs definitely experience pain, but at that young age, 1 to 5 days old, maybe 1 to 7 days old, no pain. Okay, my last big argument, I know you're gonna roll your eyes for this one, but is the as compared to argument. And what I mean by that is, look, these dogs are created by man. We crop their ears very often. We remove dew claws. We vaccinate them, inject them with all types of things. We deworm them with different pills and medications all day long. And spay and neuter, that's a huge one. I mean, that has lasting hormonal effects for their whole life. We do that at what? As a puppy or maybe a year old or 2 years old. And, you know, doing that, taking out their testicles, I'm sorry, roll your eyes all you want. But that is a big deal, much more bigger deal and more invasive and more consequential than just simply removing the tail before the nerve endings are even there when they're a couple days old. So let's put this in perspective. Just because you want to be an irresponsible dog owner and let your dog run and play and not watch them, so you think you need to rip out their reproductive organs, is frankly kind of ludicrous that the tail docking would be the issue when we feel so responsible for removing their reproductive organs. Wow, very compelling reasons. All right, time for Mr. Against Tail Docking. Go ahead and take it away. Thanks, John. Okay, first of all, you are a dick. And second of all, of course you would say it's not painful, but it absolutely is, and here is why. These are the cons to docking your dog's tail. Like he basically admitted, it's painful for an adult dog, but it's equally painful for a newborn puppy. How can it not be? First of all, we're cutting through skin, muscle, and cartilage. That's going to be painful no matter what. In one study, and I'll link to this study down below in the description of this video.
Here we go.
Yes, here I go with facts. You're right. There was a study, and like I said, I'm going to link to it in the description. And this study, they meticulously recorded the behaviors of 50 different newborn puppies at the time that their tails were cut off. And of those 50 puppies, the study says that all 50 of them, every single one, shrieked at the time of amputation of the tail, which is very telling that this is not just like cutting a fingernail. This is certainly a lot more serious than that. Also, in the same study that he cited earlier, which said that they probably didn't experience pain, maybe you should read that study a little further, because further down in that same study, it also says that if they're docked within 7 days of birth, it's likely to cause ongoing, heightened generalized sensitivity to pain in the tail stump, including sensitivity to any kind of touch and ongoing sensations of pain as an older adult dog. So look, us Doberman owners know that our dogs very often chew the stump of their tail when they're older, and we've always just kind of assumed that's anxiety, but that may not be anxiety according to this research. It could also just be sensations of pain. Now, the next reason docking should never be done is frankly just reduce communication. Dogs use their tails to communicate both with other dogs and with other people. So if you take the tail away, they can't adequately communicate their mood, how they're feeling, if they're feeling aggressive, playful, and so on. This causes real social issues and makes them a little antisocial in general, and an antisocial dog that feels withdrawn because they're misinterpreted all the time by other dogs and other people can easily become a fearful and aggressive dog. Now, the next reason, it's a good counterbalance. They're meant to have that tail, and you know, it's a thick, dense tail. It's a great counterbalance, so they're running fast, they're doing complicated movements. It can really help with how nimble they are. When they're swimming, it can act as a rudder. They're meant to have this tail, and to take away that counterbalance, yeah, animals can adapt when they have an amputation, but how much, we don't really know. And I think it's not right that we take these off and cause potentially that hindrance on the dog. Now, the next reason is because of increase in hernias. Now, there's a certain kind of hernia called the perennial hernia, which is really common, or more common at least, in dogs that have docked tails. And this is a hernia right below the tail area, right near the rear end. And it's believed that this is more common with dock-tailed dogs because when you cut off the tail, you're ruining the structural integrity of the muscles back there, and it makes it a lot more likely that these hernias will exist. Now, when you get a hernia, there's potential for infection. It's very uncomfortable for the dog. It needs to be surgically corrected usually. There's a lot of downsides to it. Now, the next point has to do with breakage or lack of breakage or injuries, and I'm sorry, you're completely wrong. Dobermans, they are very unlikely to get injuries to their tail. It can happen, yes, but it's very unlikely, and if it does, the vast majority of the time, it's usually a minor injury that heals on its own fairly quickly. And the last 2 points I want to point out is just it can also lead to urinary incontinence in female dogs and trouble defecating. And yes, I do have studies to back that up. I'll link to those down in the description below as well. And I also just got to say, why would you dock your dog's tail to prevent an injury? You're basically giving your dog a serious injury with the argument saying, well, it's to prevent a future injury. That doesn't make much sense to me. Yes, of course, you chop off the body part, any body part of your dog, and it's gonna mean that that body part can't get injured in the future. That's honestly just a horrible argument. In conclusion, guys, I don't think anybody should dock their Doberman's tail. Let's be frank with each other. It's cruel, it's barbaric. If they're meant to have a short tail, they would naturally come like that with a short tail, but they don't. So let's not start hacking off body parts because we think they look better without them. Wow, also very good points. Well, Mr. For Tail Docking, thank you very much for being here, sir. And Mr. Against Tail Docking, I also very much appreciate you coming today. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this today. I had a lot of fun arguing the pros and cons of this. Hopefully it made your decision about whether or not to get your next Doberman's tail docked a lot easier one, and hopefully helps you decide which version of me you agree with. Look, at Doberman Planet, we love learning about the amazing Doberman Pinscher, why this breed is the way that it is, how they are, how they interact with families, training and raising a Doberman. So if you love these topics and you want to keep learning about it, hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon next to it. I'd love to have you here. And please leave a comment before you go anywhere, but be good to each other, guys. I know debates can get heated, but it doesn't need to get ugly. All right, I will see you next time. Oh, I know what your problem is. You don't like the looks of the cropped tail. You prefer a big long tail. So let's be honest, you're about cosmetics too, Mr. Shallow. You're an idiot. You want to just chop off body parts. I don't even know what you're talking about. Hey, I just gotta say, your face is bothering me. I think I should cut your nose off. I just think you'd look better. Okay, all right, yep, all right. Yeah, you guys can just do whatever you want. This isn't going very well. No, don't worry. There's no nerve endings in there anyway. Keep lying, man. Your hair's just getting thinner. Keep lying. Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to write up a standard for you? Should I write up a human standard for you, and then maybe we can just start cutting off your body parts and say, oh, it's because of the standard. Why don't you go get some Rogaine or something? How many Dobermans have you ever even owned? You sound like someone who's just picked up a picture of one. The same as you. Dude, you're ridiculous. Yeah, why don't you just go get a tan or something? Yeah, you want me to come over there? Grow up, man. Come over there. Chop your body parts off. Why don't you gain a little perspective, would you? Fine. I'm done too.